Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk all things movies.
Yeah.
Joining me, as always, the other Real to Real Talker, Paul Britton. Paul, on the day that we celebrate the 27th anniversary of the movie Seven, how was your day?
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Thought I'd hit you with
I'm
that.
glad I didn't get any packages. I did not get any packages today. Although I will say that a movie that we're going to review tonight, it's rather appropriate. It's rather appropriate.
Oh my goodness. That's the thing. We are busy once again with talking about movies here on the show. Is we're going to do a night of movie reviews.
It's what we do,
as we are wont to do on this show. 3 movies we're going to take a look at this week, and boy, could they be any different from one another.
Well, I'm going to say. Two of them are mildly related, like tangentially in the same stratosphere.
Yeah, sure.
One of them is just like, forget it. Like it's completely unrelated. 2 of them are like, all right, you're way over here and I'm way over here, but at least we're in the same, like playing the same game.
Sure. Yeah. And as we're sort of in that phase of like, there's movies, but we're not really, we're in a bit of a lull these last couple of weeks with what we're talking about. But hey, they release in theaters, and therefore, I do. However, I don't have a poster for this or anything. I just want to say something that I shared with you late in the week, or last week before we, as we got ready for this week. I watched a movie called Beautiful Blue Eyes. It was the last film that Roy Scheider of Jaws fame filmed, and I sent you just a little blurb about the movie because what intrigued me was the movie was filmed actually and not completed in 2009,
right?
And it wasn't completed because unfortunately Roy Scheider passed away.
Right.
The movie, of course, was completed and was released this year. And it was interesting because the reason they were able to finish the film is through the use of AI. Don't ask me how. They were able to finish the pieces that were needed in order for this film to be complete. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it was a fantastic film, but it was fascinating watching a movie that was basically about a guy who survived the Holocaust and encounters the man who ordered the killing of his family, and subsequently he makes a decision that he wants to rid the world of you find out he has spent his life ridding the world of Nazis. And this is basically he and his family struggle, his long estranged son struggling to figure out and deal with what turns out to be his son's neighbor, who is the Nazi that ordered his family's death. And so
obviously,
yeah, and so interesting film. I only bring it up to say, what an interesting development that, this many years later, the film could be finished because of technology and such, because it was unable to be finished at the time due to Roy Scheider's death. So, yeah, it's out there. It's called Beautiful Blue Eyes.
Okay.
It was interesting. So,
okay.
But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Let's get to the topic.
Right to what we're here for, and that's going to be a few movie reviews, beginning with one that, frankly, Paul, I'm going to have to tell you that this pretty much is my quota for this year in terms of horror movies.
So, oh my! We have all of October.
I know.
Oh my goodness! This was
just don't make me watch Pearl.
No, that's fine. This was a doozy. Let's be fair. I mean, this is you and I are on a group of hardcore horror fanatics, and other movies. Like, it's not just they love all movies, but the founders of the group love horror. So their friends are all, and this one is one that they're saying, wow, you got to see this movie. It's really scary. It's really good, and go in blind. So I do want to say, you don't want to know anything about this movie. We're going to try to make this as spoiler-free as humanly possible, but it's impossible to make this totally spoiler-free. So, please just take this with a grain of salt if you are planning on seeing this.
Yeah. So I love it when a movie leaves me both. I'm not going to use the word traumatized because that's too heavy, but both affected, speechless. That's two. So now it's probably gonna be three things, and just I felt very, very awkward after this movie was over.
You're supposed
to. Absolutely. This one, I'm just gonna say it. This was a mind fuck.
Yeah, for sure.
All the way through.
This movie is three different movies.
Yep.
It is three different movies that link together perfectly. And it just absolutely plays with your expectations 100%. Like it knows what you're expecting, and then it's like, we're going to lead you down that path until we don't anymore. And it's like, oh, what?
Yeah, because right when you think you figured out what the movie's about, it's about something additionally. Totally. I'm not gonna say completely different, but additionally, and it is just when several days later I'm still struggling with how do I feel about this movie. It really, it really did a number on me. The initial reaction of just the sheer horror of it and the images and all that took a bit to wind down, but I still can't wrap my head around what this movie did to me, So
it's, oh man. And I mean, it's genuinely funny, which is like, how can
that's the weird part? Yeah.
Like you get a half hour in and you find out, okay, this is what this movie's about. And holy shit, it tilted everything I was expecting on its head.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, by the way, here's comic relief. And it's genuinely funny, like genuinely. And it's just so unexpected. And that first half hour it starts with unease. You are just uncomfortable because you're sympathizing, you're sympathizing with the female lead. And she's put in a really crappy situation that where this is going from a horror film, and and Skarsgård is there, and he's Pennywise. Like there's no way they don't cast him because he's Pennywise. They absolutely cast him because he's Pennywise. But man, it just is not anything of what you expect. At that half hour mark, we're taken from shitty Detroit to sunny Los Angeles. And it absolutely puts the entire movie on its head, and then slowly goes back to where it started, and then finishes off. And it's just like, oh, it's glorious. It's glorious.
Yeah,
like
I had a feeling you were gonna like it. I really, because of the complexity of what could have been a very simple story. And I have to do that thing I always do because George is here. So
I love George. Yeah.
Come here, son. I'm not going to deny you your opportunity to be on camera.
Oh, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I just want love. I don't want fame. I want love, not fame. That's what he said.
Exactly. Let's hope he doesn't turn off my computer here as he makes his way over to what we lovingly call the conference room.
Okay.
Which is his perch to my left. It's hey, you know what? I've learned not to fight it. So no, I was gonna say yeah, Blair sums it up. Well, now I need to watch this.
I will go with you. Tell me when you want to go. I'll be there.
Yeah, that is the best possible reaction that we can get. Additionally, thanks, weirdos. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I knew you. I had a feeling you'd enjoy this film because of the complexity, because of the way in which it plays with comic relief. But even then, I found that I didn't find that to be the relief that one would think it would be, because it was so troubling, because it was so.
And you are so tense.
Yeah.
When that comes in.
Yeah.
It's almost not a relief.
Right. Exactly. From a cinematic standpoint, the things that I loved about this film have everything to do with the way in which they played with space, lighting. You felt that sort of it's the classic. I'm in an uncomfortable, horrifying place, and it was like the walls closing in, and everything that I don't want to give anything away myself personally, because when you watch this movie, it gets under your skin, man.
Yes.
It's just so well done.
Yeah,
such great use of light, sound.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so dirty.
Cinematically,
feel dirty.
There are so many awesome things that happen with this film that I have to remind myself. Just because it affected me the way it did emotionally doesn't mean it wasn't a good movie. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I hope that makes sense, because it is a great film.
Yeah.
I can't deny that, but man, it left me feeling. I'm literally getting chills just revisiting how I felt.
Yeah, people aren't good. Let's just hashtag this. People are not good.
That's right. No, they're
not. And then just enjoy the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I told Jen, she's like, "How was it?" I'm like, "Don't ever watch this." Like, I pulled a Paul. Because I know what affects her, right?
Yeah.
But it's like anything else, I think this year more than any, we have dabbled in horror, and I think we've come out of it uncomfortable, but be able to acknowledge that, hey, there's some good stuff being done here.
Yeah.
Film wise.
Yeah. This isn't men good, but it's at least trying to be that, like, it's trying to be different, and I think it succeeds, and I appreciate that.
This is the kind of movie that it's going to sound silly. I'm just going to say it though. Had this movie come out closer to Halloween, I think I would have even had that sort of layer, because I love to watch horror movies closer to Halloween, and this would have been perfect, like the week before kind of thing, and just it was just I guess the way I would sum it up is I enjoyed, in hindsight, how uncomfortable this movie made me feel, because it wasn't the discomfort of like, I mean, there is some subject matter that's just, but it was just like it did what it set out to do.
Very successfully.
And as someone who is not typically a horror movie fan, I have got to give it its props. It did what it set out to do. It worked, and wow.
Yeah, it's not my favorite genre either. But primarily I just don't like most horror, because most horror falls into very slasher, like standard stuff, and this plays with that, and that I appreciate and like.
Strong lead in Georgina Campbell. Justin Long is always such a surprise.
He is so good,
because you can't put him in a box. You know? He's, everybody looks at him, and I listen to his podcast quite a bit, and he's such an I don't even know if it's underrated. I think that he does things that don't allow people to see just how brilliant he can be, because he's great with the comedic stuff, but there was just something about his performance here that I'm like, man, I wish I could see more of him, in varying genres. So the whole cast, I really enjoyed their work. So this is me trying to review the movie without giving stuff away.
Yeah.
And all I'm left with is, you got to see it.
Yeah, you got to see it.
And I would say yes to Blair's question.
Inappropriate for it. Look, it's an R-rated, and it's a hard R.
Yeah.
So you gotta decide from there. But Exorcist was a hard R, and I saw it when I was like 11. So I don't know. I still haven't. You haven't seen The Exorcist?
Can't do it. I cannot bring myself to it for no other reason other than and I guess I have to. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I should.
There's a movie coming out in October that is called Prey of the Devil, I believe it's called.
Yeah, Devil's Prey or something.
Devil's
like
Prey, yeah. We're gonna do that movie, and we're gonna precede it with Exorcist. And
you're doing it to me. I knew you were.
I am doing it to you. I'm sorry.
Fine.
Yep.
I'll do it for the show, Paul.
That's right.
Do it
if you need me to fly out or if you want to fly into South Florida, and I'll hold your hand during it,
okay. Hey, you know what? Don't tempt me, because
I will absolutely. I will sit with you, and I will
hold me.
I will hold you.
Rub my head.
We can turn all the lights on. No,
Love it. Oh man. All right. So here on Real to Real Talk, we do 5 taco ratings, and we can get as many as 5 tacos. if you want to add some guac for extra love, you can do it. Paul Barbarian, may I start?
Please,
Because I feel like you have even more cinematic things to say about this thing.
Okay.
This was actually a strong 4 for me.
Excellent.
I really have got to say, and let me I forget I'm doing the banners. This was a strong 4, and the only reason I don't do guac is because I'm going to stand on the notion that I was made very uncomfortable by this movie, so I'm going to keep the guac to myself. But this is a strong 4 tacos. It's a really good movie.
Throw that guac on there, and honestly, and I'm not even kidding, Justin Long gets the guac. He is so good and horrible.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you other than that this movie is you have to see it better in a theater with the people.
Yeah.
But if you're not going to see it in a theater, better don't just say when it comes out on VOD, don't do it alone. Have 4 or 5 friends come over.
Yeah.
I think there's things to talk about afterwards.
I think that was something that was sort of a miss for me because I sat in a theater yet again in a theater alone. And people are missing out.
I have some fun friends who go to horror movies and anime movies and stuff with me, and I have to drive 45 minutes to see the movies with them, but it's worth it. Yeah, and I enjoy it. So
this would definitely been one. Yeah. Blair says, "Ask Paul to tell you my watching The Exorcist story when I was caught by my dad, who was wow,
he's the story guy. His dad definitely would not have. I can only imagine.
Yeah,
I don't know the story, but I can only imagine his dad was definitely Jim Jones religious in that he basically was part of a cult and a Jesus cult that it was weird and
I'm sure
I can't fathom. I would imagine that he probably would have felt like Blair brought the devil into the house or something like that and told him he had to throw the tape out the way or something. I can only imagine. I'm making up the story, but I bet I'm not far off.
I'm sure Blair will let us know. Oh man. All right. Well, golly, there you go. That's the big one for the week. Barbarian in the books. You can find it in the theaters still, and I imagine it's not going to be there much longer, so make sure you catch it. Or Paul, these days, these kinds of movies end up on VOD.
They're going to have this. They release this now, so they're going to have it at VOD by Halloween.
Yeah,
guaranteed, 100%. I mean, their plan on this one is VOD by Halloween.
Yeah.
So,
movie Beast opened 3 weeks ago. It's already available on VOD. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that moves us to a different sort of tension-causing experience. Netflix releases End of the Road.
Yeah.
Bringing, as you said, Queen Latifah back into our lives.
God damn it!
I cannot wait to hear from you, Paul, on this one because I'm troubled. Not troubled.
Yes. All right. I'm going to start with the good.
Yeah.
I want to start with the good.
Okay.
Queen Latifah and Ludacris, although he's not billed as Ludacris. I don't remember what his. I'm sorry. I apologize, Ludacris. I don't know your non-stage name, your birth name, what you were billed on this one. But Queen Latifah and Ludacris are amazing in this. Yeah. Michael Ali plays the older child, the daughter of Queen Latifah. She is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
In this.
Absolutely.
Young Sean Dixon plays the younger child, the son. Kudos to him. The 4 leads are phenomenal in this movie. And it's interesting because this is another movie that plays on your expectations of what the movie is going to be. And then gives you a bit of that.
Yeah.
And then says, but this isn't what it is. The problem, though, is that the execution, this is one where the third act, the third act doesn't land. And I loved the first act.
Yes. There is some wonderful setup going on in this movie.
Yeah.
There's some decent mid-movie second act stuff happening.
Yes.
I was almost ready to forgive this film a lot of stuff.
Okay.
But then the final scene was so not...
It's so silly.
Yeah,
but it's not silly in a funny way. It's silly in a like.
There's still a cartel out there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That doesn't give much away, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was so. I was like, no. This. I was so frustrated by that ending.
I really was, and this is a perfect example of a movie where sometimes you go too far to change things up, and it would have probably been better just to stay on the road that you were on,
right?
And just keep going down that road. And the movie that we're gonna do for your alphabet films is a great movie where it goes exactly where where you feel like it's going, and it's perfect. Hashtag spoiler alert. This one doesn't go exactly where you're expecting it to go, and I think is worst for it. I feel like if they had just kept and if you're going to change it up, I feel like there are more original ways to do it.
Yeah,
because the change up wasn't that revolutionary and wasn't that so
there was some good work done to kind of keep us from knowing who was who, and the reveals were like, yeah, okay, I thought so, but I wasn't sure. What I will say, again, looking at this movie from its cinematic, good points.
Yes,
great acting. Latifah and Ludacris, the chemistry is
good.
Bounces off the screen.
So good.
The kids, that interaction was so natural in the car. Like, I love the car scenes with the family, and and as
that's your movie, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
as some of the like I said, great setup, because as you start to see the family dynamic and you see kind of what the story is at first, you really feel for the family. You feel for her character in the situation she's in.
Yeah.
But there were things here. This could have been a good road movie,
right?
With some less dramatic twists, but more emotional exposition.
Yes.
And it just
and that's my problem with it.
Yeah, it suffers from whatever decision was done to say we're going to make this. And I call it the Netflix curse. Like, everything has to have some sort of action in all of these movies that are being released. And while I love the tension that they encountered with the scene with the pickup truck blocking the road.
Yeah. That's your movie.
Exactly.
That's your movie.
Exactly. Because the journey from where they were to where they were headed didn't have to have this sort of clunkily thrown in twist of a storyline that doesn't pay off in a way that I believe.
Yeah. Not satisfying at all.
The script is the story is the problem, and it's definitely not the acting.
No. Queen Latifah is so good throughout. And Ludacris is so good throughout. I hope they get another chance to be in a movie together and do something a little more true to the movie. Without feeling the need to spin it. And, I mean, I don't know what to say. I want people to go watch this. I want people to put on Netflix and pop into the road and just know that you're in for an hour of high quality entertainment, and then like 30 minutes of like, okay, I guess they had to end it somehow.
It was mercifully short.
Yeah.
So. I'm just gonna say, I'm adopting your line, Paul, so forgive me, but I didn't hate it, and therefore I'm gonna give it 3 tacos. I mean,
check
it out. Three when you have some time,
Right. This is perfect for 3 tacos for me too, because I would absolutely happily watch the first hour again. And then I know when to turn it off, and I don't need to see the ending again. I know what happens at the end, but I want to watch that family dynamic. I want to watch the card trip, and
I honestly think this is a situation where whoever wrote this had the ending. Like, they knew that, because it's about that satchel, and then
here's a question.
Backwards.
Is it possible? I'll throw another layer in. Not only that, but they had a script, and then Queen Latifah was attached, and they changed it a little bit. and they got Ludacris on, and they decided to add another layer in the first hour that ended up being the most compelling part of the movie. And then, without Queen Latifah and Ludacris attached, this is just nothing.
I don't think that's a ludicrous idea, but had to do that. Sorry. Yeah, it's interesting, but check it out. It's not one I would tell people to sleep on. Just go check it out. Go check it out.
Sure.
Or you don't have to go. You don't have to go to your living room and turn your TV on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Paul, you're about to go solo on this next one because Disney Plus releases the live action version of a classic story called Pinocchio. Paul, take it away.
Okay. Like End of the Road, I'm going to start with the good stuff.
Okay.
And there is good stuff. First of all, it's got Tom Hanks as Geppetto.
Mm-hmm.
And that absolutely plays exactly as you would anticipate it playing. If you have seen the original animated feature, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Geppetto is arguably the most heartwarming, relatable character in any Disney animated movie. Like, just an absolute heartfelt human that you really care about and care for.
Yeah.
And that's Tom Hanks. And so spot on casting.
Yeah.
The other part that works is the Pleasure Island scene. In the animated feature, it goes by very quickly, and I don't remember feeling one way or the other during the Pleasure Island scene in the animated feature.
Mm-hmm.
I was literally tense when I was watching this Pleasure Island scene. Like I think having the live actors, actual children here rather than just animated kids, I think having actual children here was really compelling and very upsetting. Like, just very, very tense. It really, really brings a level of emotion to that scene that I don't get from the animated movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and also what they do with it, so the idea of Pleasure Island, if you haven't seen, the idea of Pleasure Island is that bad kids are taken to this island where they can drink, smoke, get into fights, play pool, do all the bad things that the worst of the worst kids do, break stuff. And just that's what this is for. This is for them. And then it turns out that there's nothing's for free, and it actually turns out to be, quite frankly, a labor camp. And that it's frightening with this version. It's visually appealing and frightening. The whole movie is super visually appealing. I really like what they did. Some of the effects are don't necessarily work.
Yeah.
But this is a classic. We don't need to be doing this movie. Like, we don't need this.
Okay.
We don't. We just other than those two things, i.e., Tom Hanks and Geppetto and Pleasure Island, everything else just feels like, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, yeah, this is straight from the movie that I've already. Okay, yeah, I remember,
which is the beef that people have with these live action films.
Right. They need to. Somebody needs to. They need to stop. They need to stop with the shot for shot retelling of the animated features, because we don't need it. It's not necessary. If you're going to do it, do what Tim Burton did with Alice in Wonderland. That's your footprint. Is 10 years later, Alice is brought back, and it's a totally different story. Prequel, this is what happened to Geppetto before Pinocchio came around, and then in the last 5 minutes of the final act, he starts making Pinocchio. Those are the things that are compelling, that are interesting, that they need to be doing.
Yeah.
Not just like, hey, here it is again, but with people. I do, and Blair mentions I blame Gus Van Sant and Psycho, and I definitely blame Gus Van Sant and Psycho. It's just lazy. If you don't like animated movies for some reason, and you just want to see live action, then hey, look, Pinocchio is a great movie. This is a great example of this movie is a great example of you don't need to always use computer animation. If you're going to do live action, make some things live action. Like, and Pinocchio looks way too animated, and that's a problem. It's a problem because if you're going to give me live action, give me live action. Before the Blue Fairy turns him into before Blue Fairy, brings him to life, he doesn't turn into a real boy right away. But before the Blue Fairy brings him to life, they show Geppetto playing with Pinocchio and stuff. Get a stand-in for Tom Hanks, an actual puppeteer who knows what he's doing, and give us a real puppet. You don't need to animate that puppet. Like, give us a real puppet. It's just there's
Paul, how much of it do you think is someone wanting to see Tom Hanks play this role to add it to his, do you think there's anything to that
No.
We're going to cast some of these people in these movies so that they
and I hear what you're saying, and my only response to that is I don't know that they made this because they had Tom Hanks. I think they decided they were going to make it and were able to get Tom Hanks.
Gotcha.
And
that makes sense.
The rationale is that this was intended all along to go straight to Disney Plus. The second this movie was announced, this is a Disney Plus release. And I just feel like it's easy to do these as straight to Disney Plus. So
sure. Yeah, you have your own audience ready for it, and if they watch it, great. If they don't, it's not that big a deal. So
look, it's fine. As a movie itself in a vacuum, it's fantastic because in a vacuum, great. But because we don't live in a vacuum, I'm ready to taco rate it, and we're gonna do 3. I mean, we're gonna do 3. It's good. Come in and stay for Tom Hanks, and then enjoy the Pleasure Island scene, and then what they do with Monstro, the whale is it's very different, and but.
Well, I'll be honest. Hearing the way you describe it, even at 3 tacos, I'm curious because it is a classic.
It's worth it. I feel like it's worth it. Just because of Tom Hanks. But I'm a completist. I am absolutely a completist in that I want to see every movie that doesn't look absolutely horrific. But this didn't look horrific, and it's not horrific. There's a lot to like.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. 3 movie reviews this week for quite different films: Barbarian, End of the Road, and Pinocchio. Don't forget, we tell you what we think. You go decide for yourself. Watch these movies, check them out, and then tell us what you think. And the way you can tell us what you think is by visiting our social media. So we're going to take a break for just a few seconds to tell you where you can find us online. All right. Well, we are back and we are ready to continue tonight's episode. And I got to tell you, I say it every week, but I mean it when I say it. It's time for one of my favorite parts of the show. It is called What the Hell Did I Just Watch? And Paul, we're going to turn it over to you.
So I was looking for something before I went and saw Barbarian that might maybe line up. And I was going based on titles of movies alone. Without going and reading about the movie or anything. Just I'm looking for titles of movies. And I decided I hadn't done one of my Tubi movies in a while. So I felt like this works perfectly because this is one that I is on my list of, you know, so one of the things I would do is when I'd find a particularly weird movie on Tubi that I enjoyed, I would see, if you like this, you might also like, and they display like 5 or 6 movies. And I was like, oh, okay, let me just write these down as possible ones to do in the future. And The Interior was, I mean, it's been sitting there forever and ever and ever. I mean, it's been sitting on my list for well over a year. And so like, I thought The Interior, without knowing anything about the movie, literally, I thought The Interior was going to be about something weird's going on inside a house, and that should line up really nicely with Barbarian based on what I knew about Barbarian. And it wasn't. I mean, they spend almost no time in a house, inside a house, and The Interior is a play on you know, multiple definite meanings of the definition interior of the word, multiple definitions of the word interior, or what you can be inside. It's the story of a guy who has just a crap desk job that he hates, and you know, just decides to leave the job, and at the same time that he finds out that he might be sick, and then gets a new job working like cleaning air AC vents, and then finds out that he is sick. And as soon as he gets confirmation that he is sick, and he decides to move out to British Columbia, and just live in the woods. Somebody who's never been in the woods before, clearly, like just a complete novice moving out into the woods. And then weird shit starts to happen while he's living in the woods. And it's interesting because the one way this is like Barbarian is it's very much two completely different movies, in that the first act is basically like Office Space. It's you know, it's genuinely funny. The guy who they have playing it, what's his name? Patrick McFadden, who I just checked his IMDb. I don't recognize any of the other things he's in. He's a genuinely personable, likable guy. Like he has you know, just a really like regular guy feel to him, much like the lead character from Office Space has that same kind of vibe to him.
Sure.
And then the way they present that he finds out that he's sick is, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's really compelling and absolutely fantastic and handled perfectly. And then you don't really know what's going on, and then you find yourself. You find him in the woods, and some time has passed, and he's like, not a lot of time. He has a scruffy beard going on, so he's maybe been there like 2 weeks. And you can tell by what's going on with him, this isn't for him, but he's doing it anyway, because why the hell not? And weird shit starts happening while he's in the woods. Like he starts hearing things. It's really fucking creepy. The shit that goes down. And this is like Barbarian, where it takes you from tense to, oh my God, there's Justin Long and it's funny.
Yeah.
This takes you from funny to, oh my God, this is really fucking intense. And like, but you never know what the fuck's going on. And then shit, like, and then they start revealing some of the stuff that's going on, and it makes less sense. And it's really fucking weird. And you have to start wondering, how far into the woods did this guy go? Because you feel like at first that maybe he went like way beyond any human being should go. And then you start to think, well, maybe he didn't go far enough. Maybe he's like really like 5 miles away from an interstate, and some people fell upon his thing. And The Interior, like, just, you know, to give the title away, The Interior is really about what's going on inside of the character. And so the what the hellness is like, what the hell's going on in this guy's head? Because that's really what it's very unsettling, but not in the not to the extent that Barbarian is unsettling. I will tell you that. Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah.
It's got decent ratings.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm looking at
I recommend it. I recommend it. It's good. It's a good psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. So
yeah.
All right. Well, no, audience score 46%. Well, still, it sounds like you enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, okay, I get that. Like, this isn't this isn't for the general public. It's the
Okay.
general public's going to watch this and literally say, "What the fuck is this?" But
Gotcha.
As a person who is really accustomed to watching movies that make you say, "What the fuck is this?" This is really good. Like
Gotcha.
it is a well-crafted movie.
Gotcha.
Really well crafted.
And you said available on Tubi, I believe you said.
Tubi, yes.
Tubi, gotcha. All
free
right.
on Tubi, check it out.
I need to pull up a logo for that service. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, week to week, Paul will always bring us the weirdness that he experiences. Paul, thank you for suffering first for us.
This was not suffering. It's one of the rare instances where I went in not knowing anything about the movie, and I was like, "Oh, this is good. I like this." Okay. More often than not, that ends up being a shit show, but this time around, it was good.
I'm glad it paid off. So to our benefit as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Paul, as always, for bringing us such awesome stuff. We move now to this week's installment of Real Alphabetical, and the letter is H. And by the way, am I glad it was.
Blair played along with this one too. He hadn't seen it, and so
gotcha.
Yeah.
So the letter is H for Real Alphabetical. Week to week, I'm going through the alphabet, and Paul is suggesting movies. And the movie Hell or High Water, which I did not know back in 2016, was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture.
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges is also nominated for this film. And what a surprise. If I had come across this film, just sort of, going through my streaming options, and this title comes, the poster looks like so many other movies that I come across. So I think that's a problem. Because when it comes down to what this film is about and the way it plays out, wow, it is equal parts, I don't want to say action based, because it's not that. It's got action, it's got drama,
heist. It's equal parts heist movie.
Heist film.
Yep.
It just really works.
Yeah.
This is a movie that from the outset it draws you in.
Mm-hmm.
And it does so with people who don't get a lot of credit for the work that they do. Ben Foster has yet to be in a film that for this guy has not been enjoyed. He's great. He's great. He's like that everyman actor that you see in things and you're like, yep, he's hitting the mark again.
Yeah.
Chris Pine getting out of, the Star Trek role that he's known for. And I think he's so much better than those movies. And then, of course, Jeff Bridges holding it all together. This movie is a great story.
Mm-hmm.
And it is just, I want you to tell me, Paul, what you thought about this film that made you suggest it to me.
Oh, post Blair's comment, and that's it.
Oh, where are we at? The last one?
Yeah, the last one.
There we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there we go.
It's a very American film that twists a knife into the guts of how our economy works.
Absolutely.
Look, this is the quintessential nouveau Western mixed with a heist movie. And I'm here for both of those things.
Sure.
And throw in the dude, Jeff Bridges, and I am doubly here for both of those things. And this is just an absolutely captivating movie.
It is.
Where people are making bad decisions, but they're not doing it because they are dumb. I hate movies where people make bad decisions because they are dumb. People make bad decisions because it's a character flaw, and that's okay. Making bad decisions because you're dumb just makes the movie dumb. Making bad decisions because you have genuine reasons for making bad decisions and there's a problem, that's a whole other thing. And this movie just drives on down a dusty road from one bad decision to the next, and you equal parts feel for the people and hate them. I mean, and it's
there's a point in this movie where you realize that you're rooting for people that you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But then you sort of snap out of it and go, okay. He's like, how do you not?
Yeah.
One of the things
I really like is that about halfway through the movie, you figure out, you know what? It's okay to like some characters and not like other characters.
Sure.
It's okay they're not the same character. And that's the amazing thing about this movie is the character development in this movie. There's 3.5 characters that they develop. They could have developed Jeff Bridges' partner a little bit more, I think, but even he's well developed.
Sure.
But the two brothers and Jeff Bridges are so well developed in this movie. And that's the beauty of having just these 3 characters that you can develop and foster and yeah.
There was a point at the end where and one of those rare times where a movie is left with a what happens next. Yeah. And I was not unhappy about it.
Okay.
What I'm glad they didn't lean into was they could have gone down the road of like, the younger brother understanding how his older brother works and it being a situation where he fully took advantage of him.
Yeah.
I was so afraid they were going to go to, and then they would do this reveal like, yeah, it was all me. They didn't need that. It didn't need that.
It didn't do it either.
Exactly. And I'm glad that they didn't, because I think it would have cost the movie had it been that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just such a very well put together film. Rarely does music really stand out to me, but there were some choices made in the music in this film that were just like, man, it sets the tone for where we are.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Very, very good movie.
You're welcome. Hey, speaking of Ben Foster in movies, we forgot one.
Well, Medieval was on our list. Did you watch it?
I did. Did you not?
Oh man, I don't know why I thought we hadn't agreed to go see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Medieval.
I told you I was going to try to go, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
Did you not make it?
Now, because I want to see it, I just didn't. I didn't make the time.
Let me do it. You want me to do it real quick?
Real quick.
Real quick.
I don't have a poster for it, but let me go ahead and get us back.
By the way, Hell or High Water is like, everybody needs to go see it. It's free on Netflix.
It's a great film.
Now.
Yeah.
Just watch it. It's one of those movies that I saw it like probably 2 years ago, and like I'm mad at myself from 7 years ago that I didn't actually see the movie in theaters. Like I wish I'd seen it in the theaters. All right, so there's a movie out also where Ben Foster is carrying the whole thing, and it's called Medieval. He plays a legendary, I believe it's Czech, or I don't remember, but the character's name is Jan Ziska. Jan Ziska, and just a guy in medieval times. Like it's basically Braveheart for Eastern Europe, and that's what it is. It's Braveheart for Eastern Europe, and the action is A+. The story is not. That's just that's my real quick review. This this action is so good, but damn, it's all about the Holy Roman Empire, and Blair, God bless him for being on here right now, is a history major, and I'm going to ask Blair this question without being able to ask him the question. Is it possible to make a good movie about any portion of the history of the Holy Roman Empire? Central Europe. Okay, sorry. Whatever.
I think everybody needs to see the response. That was so perfect.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry. So this movie is bogged down by a plot that is just like, what? I don't know enough about the Holy Roman Empire, and it was such a mess. And he answers my question: no, it is not possible to make an interesting movie about the Holy Roman Empire. And that's the problem with the movie, is that like, okay, these people are doing shit, and what? Why? Like, it's Braveheart is really simple because the king is a fucking asshole.
Right. Yeah.
The Holy Roman Empire, there are 3 different people in power with the same amount of power and influence, and all of them possibly good, possibly bad, different levels of asshole. And it's just like, I don't know who I'm rooting for. I don't know, Yeah.
I'm still going to check it out. I knew this weekend was so busy, but I still want to check it out because a lot of what you're saying, I know reviews have been saying. So
yeah,
but any chance to see Ben Foster, and I'm gonna give it a go. So
I'm gonna feel bad about saying this, but this movie definitely could have used some nudity. I'm sorry. Like every once in a while, I watch a movie and I'm like, you know what? Like just a nice little nude scene right in the middle would kick this up, and I don't care who.
Would it earn a taco?
Just yeah, absolutely. Anybody, just somebody. I just need to see somebody naked in the middle of this movie, and I'm like, yeah, this because that's all right.
Yeah, one of these days we'll do a whole segment on that.
Oh, I absolutely
movies that would have been better if
this is on there. We did by the way, The Invitation last week. Absolutely. What that movie's 80% better with nudity. And but that movie needs like a lot of vampires fucking. Like just so much. Like that's the only way you redeem that movie.
Oh, this show's become my episode of What the Hell Did I Just Watch? So all right. Well, all the more reason for me to see it again, just to come back to you and say, okay, yeah, you're right. This is exactly what it needed. So all right. Well, at the end of the day, Paul, it's been another fun view of the cinema, the world of cinema.
Yeah.
We have The Woman King to look forward to. I'm very excited about this.
Yeah.
That is I'm gonna watch it. I think it's Saturday is when I'm scheduled to go.
Cool. Yeah, that's gonna be a real quick review though, because the main show is the return of our best friend in the whole planet.
Absolutely. Friend of the show, Kristen Smith, will be joining us next week, and I love what we're doing. I don't know if we want to say yet.
Yes.
Or
no, definitely.
Okay. So we're really excited to have Kristen join us again because she has sent us a list. What was you said it
she gave us like 8 movies. Like a few weeks ago, we were having just a chat, and I mentioned like a movie that I remember what it was. It's because we were doing the alphabet thing, and there was a movie on there that we did that I didn't feel like got enough love, and she's like, "Oh, I could talk about movies that don't get enough love," and she rattled off like 8 movies, and then and I knew I wanted her to be on the episode for because because I knew I knew she had seen it, and I asked her if she had seen it, and she absolutely had, and I knew her input in this movie is just going to elevate the conversation to a whole other level on that movie. I don't want to give away what iMovie we're doing yet, but I told you, but it needed her. The conversation just needed her, and so we've planned this for weeks. And then after she sent the list of 8 movies, I was just like, hey, why don't we just have Kristen come in and talk about we'll pick 3 of those movies and let her pick 3 of those movies to talk about. And
there was a phrase you used though in the conversation that was like the perfect title for what we're gonna do.
It's Kristen passionately defends.
That's right. Kristen passionately defends. So we're very excited to have Kristen back on the show. It's going to be a fun conversation. So make sure you join us because you will be glad that you did. All right. Well, Paul, any last thoughts as we begin to land the plane?
It's not Ice Storm, although if you haven't seen Ice Storm, Sergio, you definitely should.
I did a long time ago, but I have seen Ice Storm.
We had a whole episode about Inside Job, Blair. Stop. Stop.
All right. Well, thank you, Blair, for showing up, and family, and all of you who showed up as well. We thank you for joining us as we continue our movie watching journey here with you. Paul, as always, it's a blast. We're going to do this again very soon.
Yeah.
And we'll leave you, as we always do, with the simple thought that you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it.
Yeah.
We will see you next week on